is an international brand that promotes excellence in dentistry. With a wide range of products, made with core values of safety and efficiency. Oro products come with the promise of durability and consistency of quality.
Oro covers entire range of dental consumables. Oro, the most trusted brand for hygiene and safety.
Well known for its consistency and quality.
Oro is an international brand that promotes excellence in dentistry. With a wide range of products, made with core values of safety and efficiency. Oro products come with the promise of durability and consistency of quality.
Oro covers entire range of dental consumables. Oro, the most trusted brand for hygiene and safety.
Well known for its consistency and quality.
Good evening, everyone. This is Sakshi from Oro, and I would like to welcome you all to the webinar, Infection Control and Sterilization in Dentistry. This is an initiative by Oro to impart the knowledge to all the dental fraternity who Oro has been serving for a decade now. We would also like to share an update that Oro has come up with its own state-of-the-art manufacturing facility where Make in India products are supported. And also it is ISO 13485 certified and CE certified, which has a class 8 clean room facility. It is located in Shirwal, about 70 kilometers away from Pune. We would be happier if you would like to visit us anytime. Oro is also now catering to the biopharma and pharma segment. It is internationally present in more than 45 plus countries. You can always meet us in national and international dental shows that Oro is always present in. You can also stay tuned with us on our LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter handles. or you can visit our website www.orohealthcare.com. I would also like to add that all the participants will be receiving their e-certificates for attending the webinar. Being a leader in this industry, we thought that we need to impart the knowledge, and from the leader itself, Dr. Prashant Bhasin, who's a very renowned and a well-known international and national speaker at various conferences. Talking about some of his achievements, he is the first international ambassador as an endodontist from India for the American Academy of Oral Surgery, USA. He is also the chairman of International Corporation Committee of Global International Summit. He is also been awarded as the Best Dentist of the Year and Professional Excellence in the year 2015 by the Indian Healthcare Professional Award, IHPA. He is also being elected as a Vice President of Indian Dental Association in 2020.
18 नहीं हो जाएगी आज तो रात को 12 बजे कल पूरे दिन करिएगा सेलिब्रेट.
He is presently working as a professor and HOD of Conservative Dentistry at Sudha Rastagi College of Dental Sciences at Faridabad, Delhi NCR region. Now, I would like to call Dr. Prashant Bhasin. Hello, sir.
Well, hi, good evening to one and all, and thank you, Sakshi.
Thank you, sir. So before we start, I would like to add, if any one of you has any questions, you can jot them down in the chat box, and then we can take up those questions in the end of the webinar. So thank you so much. I hope this webinar will be very knowledgeable and insightful for all of us. So please continue.
Well, thank you, everyone. And I must say good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to all my friends and colleagues who are joining in. So let me share my screen. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, so we can start from here. Well, a very good evening to one and all, and it's another pleasure and honor for me to be here again today, and a very important topic which I'll be sharing with you all some of my experiences and how the protocols in dentistry has changed. I will not make you bored by this today's webinar to going into more of the theoretical aspect, but yes, for sure, I'll be sharing some of the clinical tips that how at your practice you can make the infection control and sterilization a much more predictable and in a much more easier way. So as we say that we should have a flow chart in our life, and so I think the flow chart also requires in the terms of disinfection and sterilization. So I'll be talking about the mechanism of the disease transmission, and also, but I'll be focusing more today on the personal protective barriers, how you can disinfect your dental operatories, what are the sterilization techniques that I'll be looking at, and the instrument processing, I'll be focusing more on that and on the sterilization monitoring. And last but not the least, I'll be talking about the waste disposal today. Now, what is the objective? Now, the first thing is, what is the objective of today's dentistry, if we talk about? Now, definitely, we as a dentist are exposed to large arena of people, starting from the patient to spouse to girlfriends to dental hygienists to lab technicians to dental assistants and also the dental technicians. So there's certain objective which is laid down by the American Dental Association, and that's what we are looking at. The first one is that we must decrease the number of the pathogenic microbes to the level where normal body resistance can prevent infection. Number two, we should break the cycle of infection. That is very important from the dentist, assistant, and patient, and eliminate the cross infection in our dental operatories. The third one is that we should treat all patient and instrument as to they could not transmit any infectious diseases to each other. And last but not least, we must protect patient and the person from the infection. Now, what are the requirements for the infection control? That is very important, which I will like to focus on. Now, what are the ideal requirements that we are looking at today in 21st century? The first of all, I always say that if we have to make a protocol simpler, then we must make that it should have a very simple way to do it. Most of the times what we see that the protocols become much more complicated and then we are not able to follow. Secondly, it should be easily reproduced. That means today, if I do a protocol with you and I show the protocols with you, once you go back to your practices, you should be able to do it much more easily. Definitely, the world is changing and everything is cost effective. So we need to work on the economical background of it as well. Definitely, another thing important is that it should not involve a great deal of time. Today, if I tell you, okay, you have to do 10 different things and you are not able to do it, I will say, I will tell you 5 things that should make the things much more easier. Definitely, one thing is very important that whatever we are doing the protocols, it should be easily understood by our assistants and the staff. That is very important because most of the time what happens, they miss those protocols and then it becomes difficult. And last but not the least, it should not involve any toxic substances. So if we talk about the infection control, definitely it has many fortes. But yes, if we talk about the multiple focusing, which I'll be doing today, first of all, on the personal protection and how you should be wearing those kits, the different aseptic techniques, how you can do the surface disinfection, instrument sterilization, I will talk about on the instrument processing, equipment asepsis, and definitely patient screening. We all have been doing patient screening since last 2 years, I will say more effectively than what we had been doing earlier. But yes, all said and done, we need to do all these protocols much more judiciously. Now, COVID-19, as we all know, has spread all across the globe and it has affected each one of us at one point or the other. But yes, one thing it has told to the world to maintain the hygiene, that is wash your hands. And this is a very good saying which is given by Sir William Osler, which says soap and water, and a common sense are the best disinfectant. So again, we need to understand that doing all these procedures, the first thing is that we need to wash our hands with soap and water, and definitely the common sense, which is very common now to everyone. So I think disinfectant protocols are becoming much more easier to do now. So coming to what are the different areas in the dental operatories that we should keep in consideration when we talk about the infection control in dentistry. So every dental clinic has many equipments, isn't it? So all of you are having so many equipments in your practices. So how you are maintaining that? So I'll be focusing on that, how step-by-step approach you can do that. The first one, if you see on the left top, this is the clinical area where exactly you have been working. So what are the areas to focus primarily in the dental chamber is your light, the switches, the handle, the chair handles, the chair, and your different buttons on this, on the operatories, your stainless steel tray and your ultrasonic scaler, your spittoon. So all these things lying here. So this is the area which is much more critical when we're talking about the disinfection. Another thing that we will be talk about is the barriers that what we are requiring nowadays as well. Once you are using your light cure unit, it should be completely coated with the plastic coatings. Your hand pieces also should be coated, at least your wiring which is there with the plastic coatings, your X-ray tubes, your lights, and if possible, then definitely try to put some cover on your chairs when the patient is sitting, and that you can change it off if required. Otherwise, we can go for the surface disinfection and we'll be able to do that much more easier. And last but not the least, if you see here, the way to work inside the dental operatory. Now, before we go ahead, what are the pathways of cross-infection that we see in our dental operatories, or we say in toto? It can be from a patient to a dentist. It can be from a dentist to his family, but it's very rare because we are already taking care of a lot of precautions. It is from the dentist to the patient is also rare. I don't think most of us have heard that during COVID-19, anything which has happened from a dentist to the patient, because most of us were always maintaining our hygiene, and also we are maintaining the sterilization disinfection protocols. And most of common what generally I have seen happens is from a patient to patient. And as we say today, that today is a social distancing, mask and everything is very important. So make sure when the patients are sitting in your dental operatory, they are wearing their mask. Without mask, please don't allow them to wait in your waiting areas. Now let's take one by one how the pathways of cross-infection actually happens. So from a patient to a dental team, what is the source which happens to the patient's mouth? It can be either direct or a droplet infection. And it can happen through the break in the skin or by inhalation by the dental team or through breaks in the skin of the dental team. So what are the different ways you can take care? Definitely gloves are very important. Hand washing is very important. Immunization of all the staff members is very much important. Mask, rubber dam, I think is one of the most critical things that has actually saved all of us as a dentist when we are working in the aerosol procedures, because that keeps that area much more, you can say, isolated. Definitely a pre-procedural mouth rinse is very important. And last but not the least, the face shield gives you a good protection. The second pathway is from the dental team to the patient. So again, it can be from the dental team hands or from the dental team mouth. So how it happens, again, as we say, it has a direct and indirect contact. But if you talk about the direct contact, it can be through the mucosal surfaces of the patients, blood on the items used in the patient. So again, please see your instruments before you use. They need to be very well clean so that actually you can see those areas much more better. If you talk about the dental team mouth, droplet infections or inhalation by the patient through the oral mucosa, but yes, a mask should always be on by the dental team. Now, what are the different ways you can take care of this procedure? Definitely gloves, immunization, instrument sterilization. I'll be focusing more today on that, how you do it. Surface disinfection is again very important. Mask and a face shield will help you to prevent those cross-infection inside your patients. The next comes the pathways of cross-infection from a patient to patient or from an office to the community. Now, how does it spread? It spreads from the patient's mouth from the indirect contact to the mucosal surfaces. How you can take care of this infection control? Definitely instrument and handpiece sterilization is very important, because once you're changing a patient, suppose you are having one patient now and then you are getting up to the next patient, always make sure that your handpieces are sterilized, because most of our handpieces, what we are using, they have a negative subbag inside those pipings. So again, the chances of cross-infection is much higher. You must do a sterilization monitoring, the surface covers, the mask, the eye wears. We must flush our bottle lines. In my practice, in our center, we always do that. After every patient, we flush our bottle lines so that disinfectant is flushed so that we can see those areas and clean those areas much more easily. And we try to use mostly the disposable items if possible. If not, but use good quality instruments which can be autoclaved. Now, if we talk about the office, from office to the community, then definitely waste management is very important. That has to be done at your dental operatory so that you don't cross any infection to the community. Disinfection of your impressions when you're sending to the lab is very important. Proper packing is very important. That's what we do, and we mark them and send to the labs. And proper management on the laundry, which is there in your practices. So you must take care of that judiciously in your practice. Now, coming to the first step, that is the personal protection of the dental team is very important. So we need to have a barrier of the infectious microorganisms. And what are those barriers? So it starts from a face mask, eyeglasses, proper hand washing, gloves, and the protective gowns. So I think the first and foremost is very important that we should be properly draped, or we should be properly cuffing, you can say having the hairs intact, whether it's a male or a female. I always prefer to wear those caps, and especially for the females, they make sure that it's very important. With mask on your face is the first step to go for it. Now, why head caps are important? Most of us have seen that head caps are not important. We avoid wearing that. The question is not that. The answer is, what is the answer to it? We have a specific reason to wear the head caps. Now, what's that? The hair should be neatly tied back and kept out of the treatment field. That's very important. We should cover the head cap, avoiding contacting the patient's mouth. That means our hair should not be contacting the patient's mouth, because if they're not covered, they may act as a source of infection and may be rubbed against the face. And a person must protect their hairs hairs with the surgical cap while encountering heavy splatter, especially when we are talking about using ultrasonic scaling or using the hairs, or most of our procedures are actually the aerosol generating procedures. Next thing comes are the masks. Now, again, masks are very important and they actually protect us. I think all of us are being protected by that and also by the immunization. But when we talk about a mask, we must understand the mask efficiency. And that's very important, how you should check that. The first thing is it should be comfortable when you worn it. It should not irritate your nose. That's very important. It should not lead to excessive perspiration. That's another important, you can say, the area where we need to focus on. And it should not produce a tight feel around the ears and a face, which may leave marks on your face. Now, the question is, it depends on the procedure, what you are doing. If you are doing just a diagnosis, definitely it's easier. But yes, when you are using, doing some kind of an aerosol procedure, then you have to be much more, you can say, more precise when you're talking about the mask. Again, the mask gives us a very good protective value. It reduces the post-operative infections in patients caused by microorganisms in the respiratory tracts of the surgeons. And it also protects the dentist from disease agents that might be present in the sprays or the aerosol particle. So again, 3-ply and 4-ply mask, what we had been using in my practice, and definitely that is one of the key areas that we are working on. Now, what are the requirements of a mask that we are looking at? It should, 3 requirements. It should prevent both inward and outward passage of microorganisms. So again, that's the beauty of good masks that we see in Oro. The filter, if you talk about the filter particles produced during dental procedure, it should be able to do that. And most important, it should have a minimal marginal leakage. That is very important what we look out when we talk about the mask. Some of the tips about the mask that we are looking at, it is mostly composed of the synthetic material that serves about 95 to 99% of, you can say, micrometer size that we are looking at. It should be secured with the elastic bands, ears and loops. A very important thing, it should be changed between every patient or when it becomes moist and visibly soiled. The most common error, I think, that we see in our dental practice is that we, rather than discarding the mask, when we are able to actually putting it below the neck area. So please don't do that, because the edges are contaminated, and once they get rubbed against the neck, an unnecessary infection can cause a problem. Now, very important tip, a rectangular folded type provides the highest filtration, and the edges of the mask is pressed around the bridge of the nose and the face to protect against the aerosol spatter. So that is very important. So must make sure that this area of our face should be very well protected with our mask. Next, coming to the hand care. Why hand care has always been a point of concern. It is very important because the bacteriology of the skin is very different. It contains 2 types of bacteria, mostly the resident and the transient bacteria. Now, coming to the hand washing principles that we are looking at, the purpose is why we want to do that hand washing properly. Remove the surface dirt and the transient bacteria. Dissolve the normal greasy film on the skin which is being formed. Rinse and remove all the loose debris and microorganisms. And with the long-acting antiseptic provides a good disinfection of that area when you are cleaning that. So this is a video exactly how you can do the hand washing. You take a soap, wet your hand, and then start scrubbing it properly. Now, this is one common thing I think which we have learned in last 2 years doing the best way possible. But yes, it is important at this point of time. Our young colleagues have joined in, so definitely they will be able to understand. So do it this way so that you are able to clean your hands very thoroughly. And it should be around 20 seconds of a cycle or 25 seconds of a cycle. You should do that. Okay, don't use gloves which are torn, and don't start washing your gloves under once you wore them. That's very important, because if they are torn, you must discard your gloves. Please don't keep it. You need to discard them. Next comes the eye protection. Again, precaution is very important. So a protective eyewear should be thoroughly decontaminated before reuse with subsequent patients. That's what we do. It should be removed after removal of gloves. Now that is very important. Most of the time what we do is that we are working, the patient gets over, you are having your gloves, and the first thing is that we remove that. Please stop that. First, the gloves have to be removed, because if you are doing this way, you are actually transmitting the infection in that area, the microorganisms. Again, it should be removed and by grasping the temple piece with the clean finger placed on a proper location. That means then you should be able to remove that. And always use shield which has a side protection. That's very important. If you are not using a side protection, then again the chances are there that the cross infection to your eyes can happen. Coming to the protective over the garments, when we talk about, definitely we are working, all of us were working on the PPEs and I think I now have more towards the gowns. But yes, when we are working on the gowns, we need to want to protect the skin and the clothing. It should be changed whenever moist or visibly soiled. Now, what are the requirements that when we talk about a gown? Definitely, we have talked a lot in our past about the GSM, 80 GSM, 90 GSM. I'm not going to that. What I believe, it should be lightweight. It should cover the arm, chest, up to the neck and lap and seated. Better should we go for a cotton and synthetic fibers, and it should be thick enough to protect the skin and the street clothing. That's very important. Now, this is the safety surgical kit which we use in our practice. Now, let us show you how exactly we do that. This is a kit which comes from Oro, which has a multiple things which helps us to work better. So we have the hand towels. There you can see. Then we have the caps. Then we have 4 masks. Then patient drapes, foot covers, the tray trolley, and also the patient drape, which is there. Now, how to wear it? That's very important. So I thank Dr. Meenu for helping me out on this. So you must first lift the drape and open it up, and then you should wear it from the front, and then ask your assistant to come back. And then the drape should be tied completely at the back. Make sure that your hands are within the cuff if you can see that. Don't move out till you start wearing your gloves. So once you start the gloving, now this is the way you should do a proper gloving. Open up the sterile pack. And then one at a time. So first the gloves in, and then this is the right way of wearing the surgical gloves. And that it goes in. And then once it is done, then make sure that your arm cuff should be beneath the gloves. It should not be over the gloves. That's very important. Now, once you have wear those gloves, then you should not touch any of the surfaces around. No chair, nothing. You need to hold your hands together so that you can actually don't touch the area and put any kind of infection happening here or there. Next comes the disinfection and sterilization protocols that we should follow in our practices. So the disinfection protocols I will be sharing with you, and then we will be talking about the instrument processing. Now, one of the important areas that how to clean your instruments, how we inspect our instruments in our dental laboratory, how we can pack our instruments much more better so that we get an optimum sterilization of our instruments, and the storage, delivery, and also lastly, the waste disposal, how we can do that. So before you do that, we must have to classify our instruments into critical, semi-critical, and non-critical instruments. So what are the critical instruments? They are those instruments which are actually, you can say, the surgical instruments, which penetrates the soft tissue of the bone. Definitely, they need sterilization, such as your perioscalers, dental handpieces, and all. Then you have semi-critical instruments which contact the mucous membrane or non-intact skin. So again, sterilization or the high-level disinfection. As we talk about, sterilization is the best practice, such as mouth mirrors, amalgam carriers, and dental handpieces. Non-critical are like which contact the intact skin. Again, you can use a low or intermediate level disinfection, such as X-ray head, blood pressure cuffs, and many other things which are there. Now let's show you how disinfection and sterilization protocols we do at our practice. So the first step is the clinic disinfection. But the second is the instrument cleaning, the packaging, the autoclaving, and the storage. So let's see how clinic disinfection should be done. And that's what we do at our center. So the first and foremost is you start cleaning from the tray. Use a good disinfectant. Nicely clean those areas, the wires, the tubings from outside, then the handles, the switches, the area near the spittoons, and then the chair. Go step by step from top to bottom in one go so that you clean those areas much more easily. Clean it well. Again, once we have done the disinfection, then the waterline disinfection. So under this is a waterline disinfectant that we have placed. And then we run it through all the pipings in our dental laboratory. The idea is only one, that the whole, you can say the negative subbag or whatever we have used, it should clean them very well. And then finally, we switch on the UV chamber lights, which we have inside the dental laboratory once the cleaning is done. And then the chamber is closed before we start working. So for under every patient, this cycle is repeated. And then the next patient is taken in after about 25 to 30 minutes of once treatment procedure is done. Now, what are the different methods that we talk about in instrument cleaning? The first thing is that we must wear a protective utility gloves, mask, protective eyewear, and a protective clothing. The safest and the most efficient instrument cleaning procedure involves the ultrasonic cleaning and use instruments which are kept in a perforated cassettes throughout the cleaning procedure. Clean the instruments by hand using a long-handed pan scrubbing brush along with the disinfectant cleaner. Now, from where you should grasp the instrument. Grasp the mid-handle portion of the few instruments at a time with fingers and thumb to protect the palm and rotate the instrument. Brush away from the self down into the sink. That means you are not going to brush like this. You will brush towards the sink at least 5 strokes per end while rotating them. So that is very important. Now rinse with the aerated steam or water to avoid splatter, and also scrape or use an appropriate solvent cleanser to remove coatings such as plaster, wax, cement, and an impression material. Now let me show you the instrument processing, how it is being done. So the first step, as what he has been said, manual and the ultrasonic. So take the instrument one by one, clean them under the running water, scrub them from the center towards down. Again, place the distilled water. This is the distilled water what we have been using. And this is an enzymatic solution or the powder which is there that we use, Pureit. We place it and we submerge our instruments after cleaning into this enzymatic bath. So we do both ways, in this also, and we also do in an ultrasonic cleaner. So once we keep it here, then we leave it for some time and then we place it like this, where you can see into the ultrasonic cleanser. Now once that is being done, we take it out and put it on a crepe paper. Now for the birds, you can use this kind of a model which is there, like a small bin in which you can place it. And then under the crepe paper, we place all these instruments and make them dry. Make sure that all the instruments should be completely dry before you pack them. That's very important. So this is the crepe paper that what we use. Once we make sure that the instruments are completely dry, there you can see that. And this is for the handpiece. Make sure that you oil the handpiece and then again put them on the crepe paper before you put them into autoclave. Now, why we say ultrasonic cleaners are important? Because they are the most safest and efficient, and they give about 9 times more efficient than hand cleaning. So always remember, use a lot of ultrasonics in your practice cleaner so that you get a good cleaning. Now, there are common errors that we do in ultrasonic cleaning and then we don't get results. So what are that? The first is there is an ineffective cavitation. If you should not do overloading of your instruments in the ultrasonic cleaner. Always make sure that it should be kept for sufficient time and a temperature and the use of a detergent. If the problem is, make sure that all instruments should be fully submerged in that ultrasonic bath so that they can be cleaned well, and use a neutral pH ultrasonic cleaner solution in your unit for the best results. But it is always better that you should change this solution every time when you are going for the cleaning of the instruments. That's very important. Now, once that is being done, then we must rinse and dry, and we should follow the recommendation which is given by the manufacturer. And what is being suggested is that you use a deionized water or a demineralized water, and always make sure that your instrument should be completely dry before packaging so that it reduces the corrosion of your instrument, and that helps you, the life of the instrument goes a long way. Now, as I always say, this is how exactly in our practice we do. We try to keep all our instruments under a cassette. Now, what are the benefits of an instrument cassette? That is, number one is that it allows a maximum flow of the ultrasonic solution. Number two, it allows maximum flow of the heat sterilization around the instruments. So whenever we are placing in the pouches, it should not be too full because it decreases the level of sterilization. And also the cassette also reduces the risk to puncture with the dirty instruments. So again, you are working safely, your assistants are safely, and again, you are able to do the things which are much more safely and easily. That's what I will say. Now let me show you how we do the packaging at our center. So again, packaging is a critical step once the instruments are dry. So again, there are different types of sterilization pouches available, from the self-sealing, from a roll. So depending upon the size of your instrument, you need to choose the pack. So you can see of different sizes, small, big and large, different millimeters. So depends on multiple instruments you want to autoclave at one point of time, or a single instrument you want to do. Whether you have to autoclave your birds. So this, if you see, the instruments are arranged in cassettes. As I have already advantage of cassette, this is how you do. So don't overcrowd your instruments in the cassette. Then choose the pouch you have already chosen, that is 190 to 360, that you can see the size. Now place the cassette properly and make sure that there is an ample space around the cassette. It should not be totally packed, so it should not be smaller in size. And then with the self-sealing pouches, you seal them well. So there you can see that sealing is being done. And then they will be put into the autoclave. Now, if you are using a sharp instrument, then you should do a double pouching. So this is the first, this is a periosteal elevator. So self-sealing pouch. So one is done, and then the same instrument is packed in the second pouch. So for the sharp instruments, always double pouching is indicated. There you can see, and that's how it can be done. Easy and predictable, and it is reproducible. Now, smaller ones for the birds, you can do that. So once you know, okay, this case you have to do, then you can. For the PMTs, you can see the diagnostic instruments. Again, the different size of a pouch is used. Every instrument in our center is seen under a loop after cleaning so that it is clear of debris. Now, if you're using you can see the rotary instrument kit, then you can pouch them, or you can do as a one patient at a time. So if I have to do this patient, I know what my armamentarium, I will sterilize it into a single pouch, and then I can use them in my operatories when the patient comes in. So we have different ways to do it. Now, what I do in my practice, once I start my case, I also watch my instrument under the magnification so that I know it is very clean. And same thing is seen by my assistants. For the boxes which you have, I use gray paper. So we tie those gray papers. Again, for the rolls, we use self-sealing machines. We tie one instrument at a time or multiple, and then use a self-sealing machine. And we mark it. That means today's date is being stamped. And finally, the instruments are placed in the autoclave. So it helps you to achieve results which are doable. Now, one thing, before, you can see there is no color change. This is pink and this is blue. Now, once it has been autoclaved, now make sure that when you're placing in the autoclave, the instrument should not be overcrowded. It should be kept in a space. There should be a space for the steam to move in. So a class B type of an autoclave, what you should use with the vacuum if you're using all these instruments. And how you know that instrumentation is proper? There is a color change from pink to brown. So that helps you to understand that your instruments are sterilized and they are ready to work. This is how you can see the incorrect. This is the correct loading of your instrument if you are using the instrument which are the trays which are bigger. So again, you place it like that. But if you are doing this kind of a loading inside your autoclaves, please don't do that. If this incorrect loading will lead to insufficient sterilization in your practice, and finally you will land up in a cross infection on the patients. Next comes the storage. So again, different ways to storage. You can have different cabins for different instruments. But yes, in dental operatories, when we are working, we have those UV chambers. So please place some instruments, don't crowd them up in the UV chamber. You need to give a space for every instrument to be there. Then sterilization monitoring, how you can do that. So these are, as I have shared with you earlier, so different ways to see the sterilization monitoring. So before, if you see here, many companies, they have Oro also, we have shown you. So the color is one indicator that you can see from before sterilization and after sterilization. Then you have tapes, autoclavable tape, which is there, which are plain, and after sterilization they will show you these markings, which is there. You also have a biomarker solution to check for sterilization if it is required. We also have external indicators, tapes, which is there, which helps you to understand, okay, that my instruments are absolutely sterilized and I can use them further in my patients. And lastly, the biomedical waste disposal, that is another important area which we need to understand. So we must have a separate areas to work on. So here you can see that. So one is that you have for the sharp objects, so you must use a needle destroyer and you need to know how it has to be discarded into the areas where you have. And definitely we need to have our waste disposal bin, which has been there as been given. So there is a marked area in our operatory where all the operatories are the card is being placed. So there where you can actually, assistant knows that which area has to be placed once the instrument, the patient is discarded. So if there is a blood, in which area it has to go, the black, red, and the blue boxes, so that you can actually plan your sterilization, and also you can plan the waste disposal quite easily. So there are the certain things which I would like to focus here is that our waste disposal is also very important as our sterilization. So please make sure that you do a proper waste disposal so that it doesn't cause any community spread of the disease in our society. So I'm also happy to share here, this was my last slide, and I would like to share that we are happy that we are the first authorized training center of microdentistry at Delhi. So we do a lot of programs on our rotary and retreatments, and a lot of programs we had been doing in the past. Now we are coming back again, and these are one-on-one magnification programs that what we had been doing in our practices. And this is the 2021 post-COVID, the course which we are coming up in Delhi on 20th and 21st November. So it's a 2-day program where we're talking about many things, especially on the rotary endodontics, retreatment, and also we'll be focusing again on the infection control and sterilization in the field of dental clinics. So how you can do that. So you are all welcome to join us on 20th and 21st. We are doing a limited attendance program, trying to keep all things in place so that we can able to do a good program for all of us. So I always end my presentation by saying that you need to set your goals, then you need to make your plan. That once your goals are set, make a plan, then you need to get to work. And this is the time that we need to get to work. Now, once you have made the plan, stick to it, whatever the circumstances, so that you are able to reach to your goal. So you can all get connected to me on the Facebook, social media, in LinkedIn, Instagram, we all are active. So if there is anything which I can help you out any point of time, I'm more than happy to help you on that. And thank you. Have a very good evening, and you enjoy your tea and a coffee, and have a great Sunday to spend on. Thank you so much, one and all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant, for such an insightful lecture. I hope it was quite helpful for each one of us. And if anyone of you has any questions, they can raise their hands. We will be happy to address the same. Sir, I guess there are no questions. So we will end it here. Thank you so much. All the attendees will be receiving their e-certificates via mail. Thank you so much, everyone, for the time that you spent on your Sunday and attended this webinar. I hope you have a great evening ahead. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sakshi, and thank you all the delegates. Take care and have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.